What's poppin', y'all? Cardi B just came out with her newest album, I Am the Drama, or Am I the Drama, actually. And this is the first album in 7 years. This is her second album ever. And in the lead up to this, I've given her a lot of praise on my second channel where I've covered a lot more of this. Can't really upload on there now. Had to come here. You're probably going to see my face a little bit more here because they hit me with some ridiculous community guideline strike that I got to get handled. But listen, you don't care about that. But that's the reason why I'm here. So, in the midst of that, she's been doing a ton of rolling out, and I really like how they've got Walmart involved in this, they've got DoorDash involved in this, they've got a lot of big collaborations that they've done with her to roll this album out, and I like it. I like what she's done. However, she did a couple of things, and the way that it's being received by fans of hers in particular, I don't like it, and I had to call it out. So one of the things that she did was she added WAP with Megan Thee Stallion on the album, and that song is from 2020. Yes, you heard me correctly, 2020. And the reason why they did this, and I knew this was going to be like promotional material, is for it to go platinum in one day, or the fastest album to go double platinum or triple platinum. It's promotional material. Like, if you make something seem like it's hot, people are going to check it out at the very least. And that's exactly what they did. So one of the accounts, Updates of Cardi, said, Cardi B's Am I the Drama surpasses Drake's Scorpion 2018, becoming the fastest album to ever be certified RIAA platinum. And this is quite disgusting. And I quote tweeted this, and it's disgusting to me, but I also have this smirk of appreciation because I know what they're doing and it's working, and I'm contributing to it knowingly by addressing it, because it just gets Am I the Drama more promotion, which I don't have a problem with Cardi B doing well. And I said, Cardi B putting a 5-year-old hit song on this album got them comparing her to Drake. It's criminal. And a lot of other fans have been going back and forth with this. Keep in mind, the reason why I have an issue with this is not what Cardi B did. It's not what Cardi B's label did. It's not the promotional aspect of it. But the issue I have is when a good friend of ours, someone that we're all a fan of, someone whose music that we couldn't do without, that is not carried by features whatsoever, French Montana, when our favorite rapper, I gotta let go of the sarcasm a little bit. I do like French Montana, so I don't want it to come off as I don't like him, but he gets hate when he does this, because if you guys remember his last album, it sold something like 15K first week or something like that, and even that, I think the numbers might have been a little bit juiced. He has dropped good projects, but what he did was he had Unforgettable on there, and people were like, what the hell is Unforgettable doing this? Not only do people not give him credit for having put Unforgettable together, which he did, but for his album Mac and Cheese 5, he put Unforgettable and it went gold or platinum or something in a day. That's what everybody was talking about. Actually, no. Now that I remember, it was Montana, the album, in 2019, and that's because he had 2 songs on it, and it wasn't it was not Unforgettable. It was No Stylist and Lockjaw, the song with Drake and the song with Kodak Black. Those were big songs, and it went gold in a couple of days. I think he had No Shopping on there too. Yeah, he had No Shopping and No Stylist, which were already huge songs, and then he had Writing on the Wall with Post Malone. But this album was dropped in 2018, and the reason why I'm saying we can give him a little bit of grace in comparison to Cardi B is because these songs were not 5 years old. They were 2-3 years old. The album came out in 2019. Regardless, this tactic, people felt like, okay, come on, dog, what's going on here? Yet when Cardi B does it, it's all good all of a sudden. So come on now. We know Cardi B's not going, and Drake stans came out to defend him for this. So Real Almighty, Drake account said, or a Drake fan account said, Make-A-Wish achievements. This is like Drake putting God's plan on Iceman. And it's true. And this guy Z replied, and he said, Drake literally did this. And then he got harshly, not ratioed, but he got harshly fact-checked. And they said God's plan came out in January 2018, and Scorpion came out 5 months later in June. This is quite standard. If you have a hit song, several months later, you drop the album, that makes sense, especially as the song is continuously going up. And if you look at when the music video for God's Plan came out as well, that was in February. So that's a month later, and the song kept going up. So this is 5 years ago, and that's what the account said. He said God's Plan came out in January, and Scorpion came out 5 months later in June. Keep in mind, God's Plan music video came out February, and it came out towards the end of February as well. And WAP came out in 2020 and is now being put on an album in 2025, acting like that's the same same thing is crazy. And Cardi B finally came out to address this, and she said the following, and this is straight cope from her end, but I do like the fact that she addressed it. And she said, this will be the last, and this was a tweet and delete, this will be the last and only time I'm going to address this. WAP and Up are two of my biggest songs. My fans have been asking me to put them on an album. Stop the cap. And people have been asking you to drop an album since then because they thought an album was going to come in 2020 or 2021, but there's no way fans were telling her to put it on the album right now, 5 years later. That's not true. And people search for them on IOP all the time. They deserve a home. There are plenty of singles that never got put on an album, and there's no issue with that. People know WAP. Like, that's a big song. Up is a big song too, but not as big. So they can just look up Up or WAP, and your name comes up, or they have the song saved. So there's not a struggle to find either of these songs, and they needed to be added to a project to make it easier to access. That's not true. That's cap. I let haters make me not submit WAP for the Grammys. I didn't know that. I think that's wrong on her behalf. Granted, she did already steal a Grammy in 2018, one of the most criminal Grammy thefts of all time. Even though people like that album, but compared to the competition, she shouldn't have even gotten second, third, or third place. I do think she should have had a nomination that year. I don't have an issue with that. But the fact that she didn't submit WAP for the Grammys is like, why? I don't know how that worked, and I don't think that she felt that. But she was focused on family life at that time and being married, so maybe she didn't care too much for her music career, but hey, it is what it is. And at this point, I'm giving my fans what they want. That's not what her fans want. These two songs don't even count for first week sales. She's right there. So what are y'all even crying about? What we are crying about, what we're shedding tears over, what we are heartbroken over is when you do it is cool, but when French Montana does it, it's a scam and it's fake, and he I don't know why he's doing that, and he's not even a feature on the song, so he gets a bunch of hate for doing it. But when you do it, it's cool. That's what we're crying over. That's what I'm crying over. Other than that, I don't really have an issue. And I'm also crying over the fact that it's cap and your fans didn't know. Your label did this because being able to say first day that your album went platinum already is creating a lot of FOMO in fans or casual listeners, because this is all about casual listeners. They're the ones that are going to listen to this. And there isn't much urgency for a casual listener to check out an album upon release, unless they're huge fans of the artist, but then they wouldn't be a casual listener. So a casual listener hears that, yo, this album went platinum already. It's already certified that it sold 1 million+ units. They're like, whoa, everybody's listening to this. Let me listen to it. And then they'll listen to it, which will contribute to higher streams for the first week. If they just put it on there later, so it doesn't count towards the first week sales, of course, but it counts towards the promotion that will drive more first week streams and hopefully first week sales on Cardi B's behalf. So it's good promotional material, and that's why the label told her to put it on there. I wouldn't have an issue. And the thing is, if she wanted to put them on the album, she could drop them as a deluxe and just attach them a week later, right? And then the album can be certified. But at that point, the first week numbers will have already happened, and they wouldn't have gotten to squeeze out as much marketing as they could for this narrative that the album went platinum so quickly. And they need that. They need a strong narrative for Cardi B coming back after 8 years when her last album shattered who knows how many records. And in a market right now and in an industry right now where people are notoriously selling far less than usual, there isn't less consumption because the streams are really high, but when you adjust streams for actual sales, it ends up looking a lot lower. And she says, do you say anything when all those artists pull out all their little tricks and ponies to sell out? Yes, we do. We do it all the time. Here, at least. Exactly. Now let them eat cake. Go cry about it. I think her response is, she's right, but this is the thing too. I think artistically it doesn't look great either, because we'll give you guys an example from last year. Kendrick Lamar dropped Not Like Us. Kendrick Lamar also dropped Euphoria. Kendrick Lamar dropped diss tracks that would have helped his first week a lot after the Drake beef. Like, these are some of the biggest tracks ever. And when he dropped GNX, which was a couple months after the beef, he did not have any of those tracks on the album. He brought new tracks, and you have to give Kendrick Lamar a lot of respect for that. And he could have dropped GNX and they could have been like, yo, this album's platinum already because of how Not Like Us performed. But he separated that whole beef into its own era and then GNX as its own thing. So Kendrick Lamar, this is like his vision for GNX was an artistic vision. And of course, commercially, it performed well too. Like, you got songs like Luther, you got TV Off, right? You got other songs that were performing very well commercially, and this album did very well for him as well. I think it's his best album commercially since Damn. I think it might do better than Damn. Damn, I think, sold more first week, but the industry was completely different at that time. You can't compare it as a one-to-one of first week overall sales. So when we look at Cardi B throw WAP on there, and it's not bonus tracks, it just feels like this is a commercial slop put together. And I'm saying that not as a criticism towards her album, because I've yet to listen to it, and I do believe she probably put a lot of work into it, but there has to be some sort of a separation. Otherwise, we're just looking at it like you're trying to squeeze as much streams and you don't care enough about your art. So are you an artist, or are you just a personality? I think that's the distinction we're trying to make. So if she has before said, like, why would she write? She doesn't really care, and she cares more about like being a performer personality, and I understand that, but that's the distinction that people want made, and we also want that made for the fan bases. So people that are fans of people that take their art very seriously, Cardi B fans can't, or Nicki Minaj, let's give her as an example. You can't start throwing Nicki Minaj and Cardi B beef because they're not playing the same game. Cardi B says, oh, I'm just fine with being a mouthpiece. I don't really care about my art. Yeah, if they're going to throw old songs on there that aren't even labeled as bonus tracks, separated, or as deluxe versions in 5 years, you know how much artists develop in 5 years, how much their life changed, and Cardi B's life changed a lot. So for a song like that to make it to an album, I don't want to say ever, because someone will give an example, but if you do have an example, please feel free to give it. I would like to see it. And Cardi B currently, she's on pace to sell around 150-ish thousand, with 50,000 of that being in streams. So she's battling for a similar amount of streams that the Clipses project did this year, and doing 100K with the units. I'm a little bit disappointed at these estimations right now. I expect her to sell a lot more physical copies. I don't expect much from the streaming end. I think 50,000 is understandable units from streaming, because she doesn't have a major hit song right now, and she's pushing the album, and I'm more concerned with how the album does over time as opposed to the splash that it makes off rip, because a little bit of that tends to lean on luck or what single or singles you've had this year that are still doing well. But the fact that she's only able to sell, and I say only in quotations, 100,000 worth of product related to her album with how many variations she has, goes to show that her fan base may not be as strong as even a Travis Scott. And it's fair for us to compare Cardi B to Travis Scott, because Cardi B is up there with him. It's not like we're comparing somebody else, and especially in the female realm. So I'm interested to see how her sales end up doing, but I'm more interested to see if they drop a deluxe and how she carries on after this release, because she's full on music mode right now. So is her album going to live longer? Is one of these songs going to turn into a hit? I'd like to see that, and I think that's more important than focusing on her first week, or really anybody's. Like, for instance, Jack Boys 2, it had a great first week, but are we talking about Jack Boys 2 right now? Not really. We haven't really seen Jack Boys kind of like kicking it either, so there's not that energy. Now, Don Toliver, he's been doing great. He's been releasing music, and I like to see that, and his music has been doing well too. He's been dropping some slappers, dog. Like, Don Toliver is doing well, but I'm going on a tangent. This was about Cardi B. Now I'm off to Don Toliver. So we're going to clip this right here. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm going to see y'all in the next one.